My daughter left the room for 5 minutes, and suddenly, everything changed. The story opens with the male narrator, 22 to 28 years old, thoughtful and observant, arriving at his girlfriend's home for a casual dinner. He is slightly nervous, carrying a bottle of wine and a small bouquet of flowers, wanting to make a polite, considerate impression on her mother. From the moment he steps inside, there's a subtle tension in the air. Not the kind of tension that signals conflict, but a quiet, curious electricity that sets the tone for what's to come. The mother, in her early 40s, greets him warmly. She is confident and poised, yet there's an underlying softness in her demeanor that hints at vulnerability and life experience. She has an effortless grace, whether in the way she moves around the kitchen arranging plates or in the gentle smile she offers him, that immediately draws his attention. He notices the faint scent of her perfume, floral and calming, and the way her eyes light up briefly when she laughs at something small he says. This is not a grand, overtly romantic moment. It's quiet, sensory, and intimate, setting the stage for the slow burn dynamic between them. The daughter, in her early 20s, is playful and affectionate with both her boyfriend and her mother, providing a natural, familial backdrop. As the three sit down to dinner, the conversation is light and warm, sprinkled with laughter and small anecdotes. The narrator notices small details, the mother's hands brushing over the tablecloth, the subtle way she leans slightly closer when speaking, the softness in her voice. These details, seemingly mundane, register in him as more than polite gestures. They awaken a quiet admiration he didn't anticipate. After dinner, the daughter steps out to take a call or check on something upstairs. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The narrator and the mother are left alone, in the residual warmth of the meal, the soft clinking of cutlery, and the lingering aroma of roasted vegetables and fresh bread. There's a natural pause, a stillness that allows them to see each other differently. The mother offers him a cup of tea. Their hands brush for a moment, and an unspoken acknowledgement passes between them. Something that neither of them fully understands yet, but both feel. In this first part, the key emotional goal is curiosity and initial fascination. The narrator begins to notice the mother not just as a parental figure but as a woman with depth, warmth, and quiet allure. At the same time, the mother observes him. His sincerity, attentiveness, and gentle humor. The story establishes the subtle chemistry and emotional tension that will grow throughout the narrative, all without violating social boundaries or moving too quickly. The sensory details, sound, touch, scent, light, are essential here. They ground the audience in a relatable, homey environment while hinting at the latent emotional connection forming. This scene must feel authentic, human, and warm, setting the tone for a slow-burning, emotionally rich story that will gradually explore the forbidden attraction and mutual respect between the narrator and the mother. After the daughter steps out for a brief moment, perhaps to take a call or tend to something upstairs, the narrator and the mother are left alone in the soft, homey glow of the dining room. The atmosphere feels different now, quieter, more intimate, yet still entirely natural. The residual warmth of the meal lingers in the air. The faint scent of roasted vegetables, a hint of buttered bread, and the comforting aroma of tea brewing on the counter. These sensory details subtly heighten the emotional tension, making the space feel charged without overt action. The mother begins tidying the kitchen, a casual, domestic motion that somehow feels more alluring to the narrator than it should. He offers to help, and their hands brush lightly as they pass dishes back and forth. It's the kind of accidental touch that lingers just long enough to be noticed, sending a small, undeniable spark of awareness between them. The narrator is conscious of it. He feels it in his chest, and yet he also respects the subtle boundaries, keeping the interaction polite and measured. As they work together, a quiet conversation unfolds. The mother shares a personal anecdote, perhaps a memory from her early career or a lesson learned from life's unexpected twists. Her voice is calm, melodic, and suffused with warmth. She laughs softly at her own story, the kind of laugh that seems both effortless and genuine. The narrator listens attentively, his curiosity deepening. He notices the small details, The way her hair falls just slightly into her eyes, the graceful curve of her neck as she leans forward to reach a plate, the subtle warmth radiating from her hand when she touches his lightly to steady a dish. The emotional focus in this moment is connection through vulnerability. The mother allows herself a glimpse of her inner world, not consciously aware of the subtle pull forming between them. The narrator responds with empathy, attentiveness, and gentle humor, creating a safe, emotionally charged space. This is the slow burn moment where attraction begins to develop, not through words or overt gestures, but through mutual recognition of sincerity, kindness, and depth. Sensory richness continues to anchor the scene. The sound of clinking cutlery, the soft whistle of the kettle, and the warmth from the overhead light create a cocoon-like atmosphere. The narrator notices how small details, the brush of her hand, the tilt of her head when she listens, affect him more than they should. His awareness grows, yet he maintains a respectful distance, savoring the emotional tension without acting on it. The key moment arrives when their hands accidentally brush again while moving dishes, or when he hands her a freshly poured cup of tea, and their eyes meet. It is fleeting yet loaded with unspoken meaning. Both are aware of a subtle, magnetic pull between them, tempered by the presence of the daughter and the natural propriety of the situation. The audience feels this tension building, the quiet thrill of forbidden attraction, unspoken curiosity, and emotional intimacy that is safe, tender, and utterly human. By the end of this part, the emotional stakes are set. The narrator is intrigued by her warmth, intelligence, and quiet vulnerability. She is drawn to his sincerity, attentiveness, and gentle nature. Their connection is delicate but undeniable, laying the foundation for the deeper emotional and romantic tension that will gradually unfold in the following parts. The daughter has stepped out, leaving the narrator and the mother alone for a longer stretch. The warmth of the house, combined with the lingering aroma of the evening meal, creates a cocoon-like atmosphere that encourages quieter, more personal interactions. The narrator and the mother find themselves sitting close on the couch, casually tidying up the remaining dishes or sorting through the remnants of dinner. There's a natural rhythm in their movements, a silent coordination that speaks to an unspoken familiarity forming between them. This part is all about subtle, nonverbal cues of attraction. The tiny gestures that reveal emotional depth and growing tension without crossing social boundaries. The mother laughs softly at one of his observations, and the sound resonates in the narrator's chest more than expected. He notices the gentle arch of her eyebrows, the warmth in her eyes, and the way her lips curve into a small, knowing smile when she senses his attention. These fleeting moments are electric. They are the sparks of connection that viewers feel without the characters ever needing to acknowledge them aloud. Physical proximity heightens the subtle affection. Perhaps the narrator reaches across her to hand her a folded napkin, their hands brushing lightly. Maybe she leans forward slightly, letting her elbow rest near his as they both adjust the same dish. These are small, almost accidental touches, but they carry weight. Each gesture is described with sensory richness. The warmth of her hand lingering near his, the softness of her sweater under his fingertips, the faint scent of her perfume that seems to wrap around him in quiet intimacy. Emotionally, both characters are navigating hesitation and curiosity. The narrator is aware of the mother's presence as more than just a parent figure to his girlfriend, but he restrains himself out of respect and social propriety. The mother, in turn, notices his sincerity and attentiveness, which stirs emotions she hadn't anticipated. There is a delicate push and pull. Each is drawn to the other but cautious of the boundaries that surround them. The conversation flows effortlessly, moving from lighthearted teasing to more meaningful topics. Perhaps they share a small personal insight, a reflection on life, or a fleeting memory that is tender or bittersweet. The emotional intimacy deepens, and with it, the tension. Every glance, every shared smile, every gentle touch, like a hand brushing against a shoulder or a casual leaning closer, becomes a subtle declaration of connection. The key moment in this part comes when they lock eyes for a brief, extended moment. It is quiet, electric, and loaded with unspoken understanding. Neither speaks, Yet the air between them vibrates with the possibility of something more. The narrator feels an internal shift. He admires her grace, intelligence, and warmth, while the mother senses the quiet sincerity and emotional sensitivity radiating from him. It is the first true acknowledgement, internal rather than verbal, that their connection may be more than casual friendliness. This segment establishes the foundation for emotional tension that will peak in later parts. It emphasizes that romance in a slow-burn story is as much about emotional closeness, shared understanding, and unspoken desire as it is about overt gestures. By the end of this part, the audience should feel the growing electricity between the two characters, poised delicately between propriety and the pull of deeper connection, eager to see how it develops further. The evening has deepened, and the house now feels quieter and more intimate. Outside, perhaps, a gentle rain taps against the windows, or the fading light of dusk casts a warm, golden glow across the living room. The daughter has been away for a longer stretch, and the narrator and the mother are left alone, with the rhythm of the house slowed and the emotional space between them expanding. This is the perfect setup for the first moment where deeper vulnerability begins to surface. They find themselves sitting side by side, perhaps on the couch, each holding a warm cup of tea or coffee. The clink of the mugs against the saucers is the only sound besides the occasional patter of rain or the low hum of ambient evening sounds. Here, the story focuses on emotional intimacy, the type that doesn't require physical touch to be felt profoundly, though subtle gestures accompany it. A small brush of a hand when passing the sugar, a fleeting touch of a shoulder, the shared warmth of proximity, all serve to anchor their growing connection in a sensory and emotionally charged way. The mother opens up about something personal, perhaps a regret, a lesson learned, or a reflection on her life journey. Her voice is soft but steady, imbued with quiet strength and traces of vulnerability. She may mention feeling a sense of loneliness, or the subtle challenges of balancing family and personal desires, without directly referencing the narrator. The narrator listens intently, his gaze fixed on her face, noticing the slight tension in her jaw, the glimmer in her eyes, the way her hands wrap around the mug as if seeking comfort. His presence is gentle, attentive, non-intrusive, which encourages her to continue sharing. In response, he shares a glimpse of his own vulnerabilities, moments of doubt, uncertainty about his future, or how he struggles to navigate adult responsibilities. He doesn't overshare. Instead, he chooses words that convey sincerity and emotional openness. The mother notices the quiet honesty in him, the lack of pretense, and feels a subtle warmth and admiration growing. The emotional tension becomes mutual, as both recognize qualities in each other that resonate deeply, qualities that extend beyond attraction into empathy and understanding. Physical gestures remain understated yet meaningful. Perhaps he instinctively leans closer while recounting a story, or she tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear, a movement that brings her slightly nearer. Their eyes meet, linger, and communicate what words cannot. Awareness of the emotional bond forming, the unspoken acknowledgement of shared curiosity and mutual care. The key moment of this part is a pause filled with silent recognition. Their hands may touch briefly, resting near each other on the couch, or a shared breath is taken in the quiet, warm space. Neither forces anything. The intimacy is subtle, sensory, and entirely respectful. Yet it is undeniable. The narrator feels the emotional pull toward her, and she feels a mirrored resonance, both cautious yet undeniably intrigued. By the end of this segment, the story has shifted from playful curiosity to deep emotional connection. The audience senses the first peak of the slow burn tension, desire tempered by propriety, vulnerability shared and met with empathy, and an unspoken promise that this connection will continue to unfold. The scene leaves viewers emotionally invested, anticipating how these feelings will challenge their boundaries in the next stages of the story. The delicate intimacy that developed in the previous moments now collides with reality. The daughter returns unexpectedly. Maybe she finishes her call, comes back from a quick errand, or checks in on something in the kitchen. Her presence, lively and unassuming, instantly reminds both the narrator and the mother of the boundaries they cannot cross. The warmth and closeness they shared moments ago are suddenly juxtaposed with propriety, and the subtle tension that had been building transforms into a complex swirl of hesitation, awareness, and longing. The narrator notices the shift immediately. The closeness they had enjoyed feels charged now with guilt and awareness. He feels the magnetic pull toward her, yet a part of him is hyper-aware of the age gap, the social context, and his girlfriend's presence in her life. Each movement is cautious, every glance measured. The mother, too, is acutely aware of the societal and familial lines that must remain intact. She steps back slightly, adjusts her posture, and engages politely with her daughter. But the emotional residue of their previous connection lingers like an undercurrent, unspoken but palpable. This part focuses on internal conflict and the tension between desire and restraint. Both characters experience an emotional tug-of-war. The narrator wrestles with admiration and burgeoning affection for the mother while feeling loyalty and propriety toward his girlfriend. And the mother battles her attraction against her sense of responsibility, propriety, and life experience. Their emotions are raw but restrained, creating a tension that the audience can feel deeply. Sensory details continue to amplify the tension. The narrator may still sense the warmth of the mother's presence even across the room, the subtle scent of her perfume, the curve of her smile, the soft inflection of her voice when responding to her daughter. Their brief, fleeting touches during mundane actions, like passing a plate or offering help, feel loaded with meaning, though both are careful not to linger. Every small glance carries more weight than before, but it is veiled in politeness and subtlety, keeping the slow-burn nature intact. Emotionally, this part is about awareness of the stakes and the bittersweet allure of what cannot fully be pursued. Both are caught in the magnetic pull of each other's presence, understanding the depth of the connection forming, yet constrained by social reality. The audience experiences a mix of longing, tension, and empathy, sensing the complexity of the emotions without any overt romantic gestures. The unspoken feelings are just as powerful as spoken ones, and the story leverages this beautifully. The key moment arrives in a simple, quiet pause, perhaps during a shared glance while the daughter fetches something, or a subtle brush of hands when moving a chair. It is fleeting but loaded, a silent acknowledgement that both feel the connection deeply, but must temper it with restraint. Their hearts are racing, yet their actions are careful, respectful, and fully human. By the end of this part, the emotional tension has reached a critical juncture. The audience recognizes the intensity of the connection, the internal hesitations, and the social and emotional barriers that both characters must navigate. This sets the stage for a moment of tender, safe intimacy in the next part, where they explore their feelings more openly within the boundaries they are willing to maintain. The rain has eased, or perhaps the evening has settled into a calm stillness. The daughter is briefly occupied, checking on something in another room or chatting on a muted phone call, leaving the narrator and the mother alone again. Unlike before, this moment is quieter, slower, and filled with a warm, reflective energy. It is in these small, unhurried spaces that the story allows the characters to explore emotional intimacy safely, deepening the connection that has been building since their first interaction. They may find themselves near the kitchen counter or sitting together on the couch, tidying up the last remnants of dinner. The atmosphere is cocooned in soft lighting, the faint hum of a refrigerator, and the lingering warmth of tea or coffee in their hands. Sensory details are crucial here. The slight brush of shoulders as they lean in to reach the same plate, the warmth radiating from their proximity, and the subtle fragrance of her perfume that seems to wrap around the narrator like an unspoken invitation. Every small touch carries weight, yet remains fully respectful and innocent, a testament to the slow-burn tension. The mother, feeling a rare moment of comfort and trust, shares a quiet reflection, perhaps about the unpredictability of life, the fleeting nature of small joys, or a personal anecdote that reveals vulnerability. The narrator responds not with words alone, but with attentive gestures, a nod, a soft smile, the way he meets her gaze and allows a brief silence to linger. These moments of shared stillness convey far more than dialogue could. They communicate trust, empathy, and a growing emotional bond that transcends casual acquaintance. Physical affection in this part is subtle but meaningful. He might offer a gentle hand on her shoulder while moving past her, or she might brush a stray strand of hair from his forehead. Perhaps, as they pass a steaming cup of tea, their fingers touch lightly, lingering just a fraction longer than necessary. The beauty of this scene is in the unspoken acknowledgement of closeness. Their movements, glances, and soft smiles create a private, emotional rhythm that feels intimate without ever crossing boundaries. The emotional focus is mutual recognition and quiet reassurance. Both characters are acutely aware of the social lines they cannot cross, yet they allow themselves to savor the emotional warmth of the moment. The narrator admires her poise, intelligence, and the understated vulnerability she shows only in rare, private moments. She, in turn, senses the sincerity, attentiveness, and gentle energy he brings, which stirs a quiet affection she hadn't expected to feel. The key moment arrives when a subtle, YouTube-safe gesture solidifies their connection. Perhaps a soft, lingering hug, the gentle squeeze of a hand, or a fleeting brush of cheeks as they laugh at something small together. It is tender, affirming, and emotionally charged, yet entirely innocent. The gesture leaves both of them aware of the bond forming between them, a connection that is emotionally intimate, heartfelt, and profoundly human. By the end of this part, the audience feels emotional satisfaction and anticipation. The narrator and the mother have shared a safe, tender moment that deepens their connection, yet the slow-burn tension remains alive. Viewers are left eager to see how this bond will resolve, whether through acknowledgement, continued restraint, or a delicate moment of farewell, setting the stage perfectly for the story's final emotional resolution. The evening has finally reached its quiet conclusion. The daughter, having finished her call or errand, returns fully to the room, bringing with her the gentle energy and normalcy of daily life. The narrator and the mother, who have shared the private, tender moments of the evening, now must navigate the return of reality while holding on to the emotional intimacy they have carefully nurtured. The tension that has been building over the course of the night, subtle, heartfelt, and carefully restrained, now finds a graceful, emotionally satisfying resolution. The room is bathed in the soft glow of evening light or warm lamplight. The lingering scent of dinner and the mother's perfume remain in the air, creating a sensory bridge between the private moments of earlier and the social reality of the present. As they move about, clearing plates or tidying up, the narrator and mother exchange glances that are loaded with unspoken meaning. There is a quiet acknowledgement of the connection they share, expressed in brief smiles, fleeting eye contact, or the subtle brush of a hand as he passes her a dish or she adjusts a napkin. These moments are small, innocent, and YouTube-safe, yet deeply charged with emotional resonance. The emotional focus in this final part is acceptance and closure. Both characters understand the nature of their connection and the boundaries that must remain intact. The narrator feels a profound admiration and affection for the mother, tempered by respect and awareness of the daughter's presence and social propriety. The mother, in turn, appreciates his sincerity, attentiveness, and the quiet emotional depth he brings into her life. They both recognize that their bond is real and meaningful, even if it cannot evolve into conventional romance. Physical gestures remain subtle but emotionally powerful. Perhaps the narrator offers a polite, lingering hug goodbye, or the mother places a soft hand on his shoulder as she thanks him for the evening. Their hands may touch briefly when handing over a coat or small item, lingering just a beat longer than necessary. These touches are understated yet convey warmth, trust, and a deep, unspoken understanding of the affection that has grown between them. Dialogue in this segment is minimal, natural, and heartfelt. The mother might offer a quiet, reflective comment, something like, "You have a calmness about you that makes everything feel lighter," while the narrator responds with sincere acknowledgement or a soft smile. These exchanges do not need to overtly declare romantic intent. Their power lies in emotional honesty and the mutual recognition of the bond formed. The key moment of resolution comes in a simple, lingering glance as they part. It is full of emotion, yet restrained. It communicates gratitude, admiration, and a quiet acknowledgement of the connection they have shared. There is no need for dramatic declarations or overt romantic gestures. The slow burn intimacy and mutual respect have already conveyed everything the audience needs to feel satisfied. By the end of this part, the story achieves emotional closure without conventional romance. The narrator and the mother part as friends, perhaps with a hint of wistful longing, but with a deep appreciation for the bond that has transformed the evening into something unforgettable. The audience is left with warmth, satisfaction, and the lingering impression of a slow-burning, heartfelt connection that honors emotional depth, subtle desire, and human connection. If this story touched you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more slow-burn, age-gap romance tales. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt a connection that caught you completely by surprise? Hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story that warms your heart.